All right, so just start by introducing yourself.
Hi.
Camera, you know.
Hi. Hey. Sorry.
Sexy.
Hi, I'm Justin. Dude, you can't make me laugh.
Okay.
Blooper reel's about to be mint.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
That was my brain refarting.
Okay.
Okay, done.
Driven to put his name among the PBA's elite, to honor his family. Meet Justin Veal, 20-year-old bowler out of Norwich, Connecticut.
Let's go, bro.
If he can learn to work hard enough to believe those things, he'll be an unbelievable player. He really will.
After 9 tournament victories, 23 perfect games, and raising his average into the 230s, this young college student has been making a name for himself all across the region, placing 12th at a professional regional tournament, making deep runs at the top amateur tournaments in the region, getting national attention.
So this week, Bowler of the Week from Norwich, Connecticut, Justin Veal. He shot 268, 300, 299 for a total of 867.
But it was in the small town of Preston, Connecticut, where Justin's journey would begin.
Always, since he was little, he's been super smart, eloquent. Like, he would always speak to adults like an adult would speak to him back. Like, we never did the baby talk type thing or anything. He could read when he was about 3 years old, I want to say.
So from early childhood, I was always energetic. I was running around like crazy. I was in school. I moved when I was in 3rd grade, so that kind of, that took a toll.
We did move a few times. So we started off in Preston, Connecticut, and we moved to Killingly, Connecticut, and then he moved with his dad into North Stonington, Connecticut, where he graduated from in 2020. So it was one of those crazy pandemic graduation ceremonies. He and his dad used to go fishing all the time. He started playing baseball when he was about 5.
Played baseball for most of the early years of my life.
And then, as you know, bowling. Of course.
Just a little bit.
I got into that when he was, I want to say, 14. He's also been into music. So he started playing saxophone when he was in the 5th grade, when he was 10. He taught himself guitar.
What do we got going on here?
He's taught himself piano.
I didn't know he taught himself, though. That's crazy.
He was always a really outgoing kid. So how he is now is how he was like when he was little. And he did have, a little bit of trouble, I want to say, back when when he was like 13, 14, 15.
Yeah, when I was in 8th grade is when I really started to notice that something was kind of wrong. I'd always been kind of skittish before, but it wasn't really anything I thought was different. And then I passed out in the lunchroom, and then, they were like, my dad actually was like, hey, probably have some anxiety and some depression. But after that, it got a ton worse. So I was actually hospitalized in a mental institution for about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
He was diagnosed with being bipolar, and I know he still struggles with like seasonal depression and anxiety. I think bowling really has helped him get through that because it's something he truly enjoys, and he can kind of focus on that, and it's like an outlet for him.
My dad actually had brought me to, we had started practicing together, and he got me into an adult league, actually. And he bowls 2-finger with no thumb. So he's always bowled like that. But he took me, and I started bowling like that, actually. I didn't bowl with a thumb. From that point, I really just don't even remember. I started bowling, and I remember the 30 games a day, and that really got me into the position I'm in now. So
You heard that right. 30 games a day.
we got lucky enough, and I'm extremely grateful that we got the ability to bowl free as juniors. I would go every day and I bowl 30 games a day. Sometimes, bowl 25, but I wouldn't leave. I'd be there all day, basically. I'd just bowl and bowl and bowl and work on stuff and muscle memory and everything. And since I'd played baseball, after practices and stuff like that, I would literally just go straight to the bowling alley because at that point, I just wanted to get better. So yeah, the ability to bowl free and just working. Also bowling Travel League, the Rhode Island Travel League. So basically what happened is they would take the best bowlers that week. The 5 best were the ones who started. I want to start on travel, so I'm going to bowl good in league. And that's how I shot my first 300, actually. I bowled Cranston Bowl, and I got the ability to anchor, and they threw me in, and I shot 300 my first game. So honestly, I've always been a competitive person. I've wanted the ability to compete. I've always felt like I can put the work in no matter what it is. I don't care if it's, the sport I'm the worst at, I'm still gonna try to work at it and be better. So that's how I looked at it at first, because I was playing football and baseball at that time too. So I've never played football either until that 1 year. So realistically, I was trying to, balance all of that, and it was insane. It really was. Because I would have baseball games, I'd show up to the bowling alley in my baseball uniform and bowl. I really would. For me, at least, it was the ability to bowl the games, and then at that point, I really give credit to John Van Hees too, because he had put out a program. We had gotten to bowl for a really cheap price on PVA patterns at that time. He was working with most of us individually. He really did work with all of us and try to get us all better. So I really attribute that too, because that really did help.
Justin started his bowling career on the tail end of a traumatic event that forever changed his life, one that took place on January 11th, 2017.
When his grandmother did pass away, so that was also when he was 14.
I lost my grandmother, and from that point, it was awful. My dad had come a couple of days prior. He had let me know that she was, in hospice and whatnot, and she, wasn't coming out of it because just how bad it was. After that, he came to my house, picked me up so I could spend time with the family. I took the whole week off. Middle of the week that week, I woke up and snapped awake. It wasn't like a normal wake up. I just snapped awake, and then about 5 minutes later we got the call.
That whole year for him at 14 was really tough. It was really hard. It's just something you don't know how to deal with. He would ask, he'd be like, "Oh, I'm really angry. Can we go to the bowling alley so I can get my aggression out?" And I'd say, "Sure." If that's going to be helpful. The rest is history, I guess. He's really started to make a name for himself. And
all that practice on the tail end of this traumatic event for Justin would eventually pay dividends.
When I was 16, I won my first JBSC title. Nate Purchase, the title match, and I got lucky enough to go through him. So. It was 175 below. My first DJBT title actually was a good one. I'd gotten 2 hours of sleep the prior night, and I led qualifying by about 70 sticks. At that point, you can't really ask for much else. You just got to make the shots when it matters. In my second DJBT title, I won on PBA Shark. Anybody can average 230 on a house shot if they put enough time in, but averaging 230 on a PBA shot, especially when it's Shark. So for that, it was a really big confidence boost.
That might be wide. Is it going to come back? Yes, it does.
Also around this time, Justin would qualify for the largest, most prestigious youth bowling tournament in the country, Junior Gold.
When he did qualify for Junior Gold for the first time, so that was really amazing, and we did have a fundraiser for him, so we could all go down there and spend the week down in Dallas, and it was great. And we didn't know what to expect, so he didn't do quite as well as he had hoped, but we didn't realize the level of talent in Dallas, or in the country.
But Justin wouldn't be sidelined for long. In fact, the best bowling of his career was about to commence.
My first Axis title was pretty memorable. February 2020, right before COVID, my dad had some medical issues, and so I'd been at the bowling center, and he didn't really want to drive that day, so I was really hoping that I just didn't make the cut, honestly. That was the one time I just didn't want him to be in pain like that. So I bowled the first squad, and I was like, do I re-enter? I don't even know what to do. And he's like, re-enter. So I bowled again. I was either first or second on the squad, I don't remember, but I bowled really well. Got into match play and just absolutely ran the field over at that point. Shot 260 in the title match, 8 or 9 strikes in a row, and that's really all you can ask for. My second Axis title, that was a pretty good one too. That was against Jay Payne. That was a dogfight too. I really don't think I would have won that match had I not made the 4-9 split. Yes, sir. Left a 4-6-7-9 when I almost made that too. You want the opportunity, you got to take it. So it's the breaks like that that'll get you the championships. So my first weekend at Muskingum, which, you know, we're going to get to, but 2021, they had a Scratch Classic tournament. It was $100 entry, and I showed up and I won the tournament. First weekend in school. Actually, I'd run over one of my teammates at that point. We got into a striking fest, and I just came out on top. I graduated high school in 2020. We had all been told that the first half of the collegiate season wasn't going to happen, but the school year itself, I just think with all the mandates that were in place at that point, it was just so hectic for me going in, and you had to leave a building a certain way because like they wanted to flow the traffic in and out of buildings, and I felt I was more worried about that than getting my actual work done. So I decided to take a leave of absence until the next year. And then I went back in the summer. I was excited to be back at that point. I had lasted the whole semester. Bowling had picked up, and I hadn't been able to manage school and bowling at that point. So it led to horrible grades, and I got put on academic suspension and tried to get the ability to go back and wasn't granted that ability. So pretty hectic, but when I had been able to bowl, I was averaging about 210-ish.
The highlight of Justin's collegiate bowling career likely took place on November 20th, 2021.
We bowled, I don't even remember what center it was at, but we drove 3 hours to get there and then stayed overnight. And I got lucky enough game 3 to shoot a 300, so that was pretty cool. Collegiate 300. I mean, the whole center erupted, literally. Like, that was probably top 5 bowling moment for me because it was insanely loud. You really couldn't hear anything over even like the filming because it was just so loud. Like, it literally stopped and then just erupted. But after that semester, I had just decided, after I'd gone back in 2022 for a couple of weeks, I had just decided at that point it was not worth going back to Muskingum. There was some tension between teammates too at times, I feel. I'm not the best with certain communications, and I feel that was misinterpreted at times. It led to issues. At that point, I was just like, I'm just going to go home. Like, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to go home. I'm going to work on my craft. I'm just like, I'll take college somewhere else.
Back in New England, Justin started bowling more tournaments and found immediate success.
Third Axis title, I beat Frankie Kalka. He's a really good lefty.
He has quite a few titles in Axis when Axis was very, very big. If he was bowling, then there was a chance you're thinking, okay, Justin Veal may take this.
This tournament victory was only a sign of things to come, as Justin would go on to have a monster night at his league shortly after this event.
So February of 2022, I shot my career best series of 867, which if you don't bowl, the max you can get in a 3-game series is 900, so it's pretty close. But yeah, so my dad and I had been driving, we were running late, and at that time we had a broken car window, so we were driving there. I was freezing cold. We got into the bowling alley, we only had a couple of minutes of practice left. I threw 2 shots in practice. Went from there, shot 268 my first game, and then followed that with 300.
I got on second. I got old age. Oh, it was really smooth on that one.
I realistically only remember the first frame and the last frame because at that point shooting 300 was it wasn't really anything special. Like I had already been shooting 300s a lot, so it was like, oh cool, 300, like, I'm happy for myself, cool. But carrying that over into the next game and throwing the front 11 in the next game, that was something. I mean, that's stuff we all dream of, and I mean, it happened, so.
Let's go, boss. Let's go!
Yeah, it was amazing. That night I just couldn't miss. Yeah, it was crazy. Other tournament finishes that I'm proud of, I've had top 5s at NEBA, like the PBA Regional in East Providence. I bowled really well there too. I mean, when you're competing at that level at 20 years old and come away with a 12th place finish, even though I didn't bowl well that last block, that's still crazy to think about, that I was bowling at that level and I'm not even, who knows what comes for the future, so.
His career has definitely been successful. Like I would consider him like definitely one of the players that I think about, especially one of the two-handed players that I think about in the area that are like super good. Like Justin has always been this sort of like explosive, fiery, passionate player. He has the honor scores, he has the titles, and like at face value, a lot of bowlers would see that and be like, oh, this kid's really good. But he also, like, after getting to know him a little bit, he also just has that fiery passion.
I watched him grow from a kid that people knew as a person that's won titles, but when I met him in person, he would fry out, he'd get really frustrated, say he didn't want to bowl anymore, he didn't want to do something. A lot of finality. And finality, I mean, he just is like an end-all be-all. Like, if today didn't go well, I'm not going to do that thing I did anymore. I met him as that type of person where he just wants to quit. I have not heard that side of Justin in a while. I haven't heard quitter Justin in a while, which is great, but also scary because I have to bowl against him.
It's honestly scary because, like, here I am about to go up against him in all these tournaments. It's like, you know, like, what am I gonna do to beat this kid? You know, he's just so talented.
And I've watched Justin develop into a player that, although he hits those low lows and you can still see him freaking out or frying out a little bit, he's controlled that fire into something that's developed him into a player that's very, very successful in the lanes. Although he may have really rough days, you still see him bounce back because he's learned that even though he may fail, he can get up and get better. His improvements are exponential, I would describe it. He's really honed his passion into a craft that has gotten better so fast in such a short time.
Right.
Just dominating.
I have a lot of Facebook, you know, old coworkers and new coworkers, etc. on Facebook, family, whatever, and they all follow his bowling career, and they're just so impressed that, like, he's doing this and how far he's going.
I just recently picked up my PBA card. I've bowled a couple of regionals. I bowled the regional up in Buffalo, New York, and I bowled the East Providence regional last November. It's obviously a starting point. I want to be a regular on national tour one day. You know, eventually have a title, and, you know, I don't want to go too far ahead and not meet goals. You know, being out there, you really have to be able to make your shots and stay level-headed because it's a lot of games and it's the best of the best in the world. So realistically, you do have to be physically and mentally in shape and ready to do that. And not that it's a bad thing, but working full-time and also, you know, picking up another job, that's not, I can't take the time to go bowl like a national tour stop because, well, for one, it's really expensive with airfare and all that stuff. But for two, I just can't take the time off work. I feel like it's getting into a spot where I'm comfortable enough to be like, yeah, I can take the week off work if I need it and go bowl and, you know, do what I got to do. And I do want to go full time, but I think that would require, like I said, just having the ability to take the time off of work. Like, I could take a day off for a tournament and, like, you know, I'm still going to be like, oh man, I missed work, but, like, it's nothing compared to missing a whole week. So I would much rather have the local stuff than travel every now and again, for now at least, until I can save up a little bit and be able to go out and do my thing out there.
Sweet, there we go. John Van Hees is a local professional bowler and a PBA national champion. I asked him for some valuable insight on some obstacles that Justin may face in rising to the top of this sport. John Van Hees, PBA champion, 14-time NEBA champion?
13.
We're getting there. NEBA Hall of Famer, Rhode Island Hall of Famer, hundreds of perfect games, and a lot of people say you're in the conversation for, like, the top bowlers in the area, like, all time. And you know, that got the wheels turning with me and Justin making this documentary. You know, you can give some great insight on a lot of the obstacles to getting to the top of this sport, and we thought that we could pick your brain a little bit. So.
John Van Hees, you're a PBA Tour champion.
That's right here, baby.
Jonathan Van Hees earned this title. It's 4th through 7th, the key.
There, baby.
Yeah. You know, he's got a long ways to go. He's got a lot to prove, a lot of years to tell the tale of him. He's a passionate young kid, and you'd love to see that because you can't teach passion. You can't teach kids to have a care, to have that fire, to have that, you know, the ambition and that fire that you want. That kid that can go out there and kind of be in your face a little bit because you're in a field of lions. You know, there's a lot of really good players.
And he practices every single day.
Yeah, but practice only goes so far. You know, I mean, I don't practice a lot. I practice, you know, once or twice a week. I don't practice a lot. I spend a lot of time in the gym. I cook my own meals. I discipline myself. I learned a lot about bowling balls. I learned a lot about lane conditions, oils, topography, environmental issues. You know, so for a guy like me, I'll look at a guy like Justin, and maybe he'll throw one shot a game better than I will, but I'll make 2 moves better than he will. And that'll give me a frame advantage of him. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I think he's got those intangibles. You know, time is the friend of everybody, and it's also the enemy of everybody too. You know, how hard are you willing to work? How many times you want to get kicked down and fall down and fail, and then willing to come back? We're all gonna fail. Inevitably, we all fail. I mean, there's nothing to it. You fail. when you fail, how do you handle that failure? You know, for me, mental, physical, things like that. Like, I never went out there feeling I was a great physical player. I just feel like I was the smartest guy in the room. I feel like I was the hardest guy, working guy in the room. Like, I'm in the gym 4 or 5 days a week. I'm running, I'm lifting. Like, you know, I'll put myself up against anybody athletically on the tour. Like, I think I'm the greatest athletic player the tour's ever seen. That's the way I feel, though. Whether it's true or not doesn't really matter to anybody else but me. That's what really is important, is that that's what, for a guy like Justin, he has to learn. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't matter what anybody else encapsulates. You have to go into that, and you have to be that guy. And you have to believe you're that guy. Because if you're going to win, you're going to beat those guys, you got to be that guy.
Right.
That's what will be the test to him. If he can learn to work hard enough to believe those things, he'll be an unbelievable player. He really will.
I guess at the end of the day, like, what do you want most for Justin? Like, what would make you happier than anything to see him have it or achieve it?
Well, I mean, as a parent, you always wish for your child to be a happy and a healthy person and just successful, of course. I mean, you know, he, as everyone in their early 20s, you know, he's going to get there. And I think, you know, and there's not success in bowling, but success in life. I look for both of them, and, you know, I hope that his bowling career takes him far. It's just his love. Like, he just loves bowling, you know, and loves everything about bowling. And you know, almost an obsession to a point, for sure. It is an obsession with him. He has to learn also to balance it with, like, normal life type stuff, and it can't completely overtake his life. I mean,
I can tell for Justin that, like, bowling is obviously, like, this super important thing, and I can tell that it's also something that he feels a lot of, like, happiness and satisfaction from. Obviously, like, with that, because bowling is so big in his life, like, a lot of his energy, a lot of his effort, a lot of his, like, time is spent to that. A lot of care is spent towards bowling. And I think one of the biggest obstacles he might find for himself is, like, because he cares so much, he still needs to explore, like, other facets of his life, because he's still young. If he feels happy and satisfied focusing all of this energy and effort on bowling, like, that's totally fine to do. But it has to be sustainable so that he can keep on doing this, keep on progressing over years and years and years. For professional bowlers, like, it's all that they do. Like, that's because they are the group of people that it's sustainable for them. Like, they are totally fine going out and, like, literally living on the bowling scene for their lives, for their careers, and they're totally fine with it. Like, that's sustainable for them. Justin has to figure that out for himself, but I think that's going to be a big obstacle.
You know, I hope everything goes well, and I'm super proud of him, and I tell him all the time, like, how well he's doing, and just in life and bowling, everything. So, and I am so thankful that he is a healthy individual, and, you know, I thank God every day. Like, he's a great kid, and he's just healthy, and that's all I could really ask for. So I'm super proud of him.